Morning everyone. So we're building the build file as I promised yesterday. So over here we write the cert path, and here we write the cert password. For the tutorial of this video we put it as password, and then now we're putting the path for the Zig engine to help for the compiling of our files. Uh, we're just gonna put the same name as you have the same location where you have installed the zig file, and then also make sure you give the same location where you have your cert and the same password that you have created your cert with. Now, we give it the build directory, which is gonna be the path. So we're gonna say it already because it's the same folder directory. So just slash build, and the other side. And now we're gonna create a URL reader. Sorry, RL reader. Just a variable, we're gonna call it RL, but it's gonna have inside of it a read line creator. We're gonna put create line. Sorry, create interface, and then we're gonna put input and process dot st bin, and then output process dot stdu, sorry, dot. You see it popping over there. Now we're gonna create another function which gonna be running the commands for us. So we're gonna click run. Inside the function, we're gonna be passing two elements: a command and an event. Then equal to this. Then we open the function. We're gonna put try. We're gonna put execute async, and we're gonna add the command inside the cmd, and then after it we're gonna add open, and then stdio, and then you're gonna put inside of it enter, and then nv, which is gonna be our process process nv nv, and then next to it our nv. So we have now half of the command, so we do next to it catch for the errors. Then we cancel all the errors so we know what the error is. Then we cancel log again. We process exit, sorry. Exit in case of error. And we put inside it as well. Exit. Now let's create configuration event. So constant, we're gonna put zig event. Zig event. env, and then would be equal. You're gonna open, you're gonna write cgd, sorry, cgo would be equal to, sorry, cgo enable would be equal to 1. Let's just put the 1 first, and then we got that enable. So now the second one would be direction of our CC, which is in our execute, which is in our folder of Zik. So you just gonna take this, and because we have already highlighted it, we're just gonna put Zik as this. 1 minute. We'll open it inside. So because we're gonna add more to the line of the path, so we're just gonna declare that we want to use this target. Where this with the target. We're just gonna write x8, which is system that we're gonna be building this executable. So it's gonna be 8. So as a window, 8.6 under 64 bits. Then you're just gonna do a dash and Windows. Then again dash and GNU. Make sure it is running like this. Then just copy it back again. Go again the second line and add cxx filing. So now we have to add it from here, and here we're just gonna say cc plus. Now we're gonna go to constant, sorry, builder function. So we're gonna add, we're gonna call it build function. Then we're gonna open inside because we're gonna have a multi-build emulators. Therefore, we're gonna be adding function inside one variable and calling them after into the command functions. So we're gonna start by declaring the first one, which is gonna be out. We just created an out over here, and then we're gonna move to the second part, which is canceling log, so we can have some text within the function process displayed within the CLI. So we're just gonna say console.log log inside. We're gonna write building, and then emulator. And then if you want, you can add some emojis later on if you wish to. Then we put run. Then we open to run command. So the run is the function that we just named over here. So the run will take a command. So the command would be go build minus O. For example, let's do a test straightforward for just one element, and you can add the rest by yourself. Then you just put O, not 0, and then after that we give it the build where we're gonna be putting the executable. So I'm gonna be putting it into the build dir, which we have specified over here. Now then I'm gonna slash, for example, now we're gonna give it the name. So put out dot execute. Now we're gonna define the location of the out, which is gonna be under our CM, because we're building our CM, which is here, our main goal. Sorry. Yeah, because it built a database here too. Because we build it on a local. So it is under our CMD slash out slash main.py. Now we're gonna add the config, which is zip. Sorry, zip even. Now we're gonna create a security phase. So we're gonna call it a sync function. And then we're gonna cancel all that we are at the security phase. Inside here we're gonna add then inside here you're gonna type down exactly how I'm gonna be typing it, so you don't have to type your password twice. So you're gonna write down, because we're gonna put the command dynamically inside here to handle multiple different build position certificates and also passwords if you want to put many signature passwords as you want. So we're gonna start by adding constant, and we're gonna call it PC command, which is stand for PowerShell commands. And then, because if you put a PC1 file, it will give you a PowerShell command file like a BUT, which is also referred for CMD file command. So first of all, we're gonna convert to source string secure string. And then you're gonna add open inside of here. We're gonna add our string, which is gonna be our password. And next to it, we're gonna add dash as plain text. Then dash again, and then false. Sorry, capital F. Then comma. And you get down, and then we're gonna import the cert dash prefix. Sorry, prefix. Then search certificate. Then dash file path. Then we're gonna give it file path. Again, make sure you open here because they need to be a string. And then we're gonna specify cert location, which we have already written down up. Just gonna highlight it. So we're just gonna write down CT, which is cert, true dot, and local machine. Then slash my cert, or just me. This should close here. And you're gonna do dash password. It's gonna be a dollar PW, and then you give it through space, and then you write down com would be equal, you open get pfx certificate, and then you're gonna add space file path, not space dash file path. Then again, we're gonna give it the cert path over here. Then we're gonna give it a dash password. then dash pw. Now you add a dot, dot, thumbprint, and just put the p as this. Now we're gonna get each executable that we have created and sign it with our thumbprint, our shared thumbprint, and sign the file using the thumbprint to open the cert. So let's do get and then children, whatever is inside the build folder. Or let's say child item. So it is child item, and then we're gonna put inside here build there, and then next to it we're gonna add this two symbol as they are. Which is gonna be first we're gonna delete this one, we're gonna add this, and then star, then dot executable. So whatever executable that's inside this file, we're gonna sign it back. Now, and then we're gonna close over here. Then we're gonna open a different for each. And then dash object. And now we're gonna do unblock if it is blocked, to make sure that nothing is blocked for us. Dash file. And then dash path. Then underline dot file name. Full name, sorry. And then we're gonna do set and dash authenticate author authenticate code signature. Oh. So actually just not authenticate, but authentic. Yep. So as this. And then you're gonna put dash again alpha, then space, and then underscore dash dot full name, then dash certificate, then dollar, then cert, and then timestamp or time server. Just gonna write timestamp, then server, and then we're gonna give it the link for the digital timestamp server. So we're just gonna write http true dot slash 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 timestamp dot digital or digicert, sorry, dot. That would be it for our command. Let's just organize things. So we're just gonna push this bit here and press this down. And then we're just gonna run the command. Then inside the command, we're just gonna do open again and say PowerShell. Dash command. And then open again, and we're gonna pass the command ps, which I'm gonna do like this, and then ps command. Now in here, we can add console log to say that we are all binaries, sign, and trust should as, and you can add your name if you wish to. Now we're gonna create a function ask question. Inside of it, we're gonna pass a query. We're gonna do return new promise. And inside of it, we're just gonna do a function of resolve, sorry. That's true, and then we're gonna pass the arrow dot question dot query, and then the result. Now, let's create just my flex. Flux, sorry. Now we're gonna create a function for showing the menu. So we're just gonna call it phone. So in this function, it should just display for us the logs. So let's say, for example, I'll be adding a style as this. And then let me just do like this. And then inside here, we're gonna put, for example, feel free to put whatever you would like to put inside here. Let's say CLI. Let's give it space. And then let's add in here and there we go. No, let's let me just contract. Okay. Now let's add the options. Since we have just one option at the moment, we can put option one and say and then just gonna say constant await for our ask input. So it just takes back the response or the choice. So we're gonna call it choice. Then await for our ask question. And then inside of here we're gonna open and we're gonna add selected. So it's gonna pop up next to in the input here down. Well, if we try to write something. Still have an hour icon in here. You can close it. Now this should be async. Now inside here you're just gonna put dash n and we're gonna add select option and then you add space here. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna call our EFS. We're gonna say if EFS is null dot exist. We're gonna check if builder folder exists or not. If not, to build it. So build yarn doesn't exist, and then we're gonna add next to it if EFS dot make the yarn. Sorry, it doesn't exist. We're gonna do EFS dot make dir, which gonna make for us the build folder. We just gonna give it the build folder dir. Then it's gonna add cancel log dot go clean. This is just a cancel log. It's not actually cleaning yet. It's just stating that we are in this stage at the moment. Then we're gonna add, since we added options, so we can say first, we can make it run this one straightforward. So we're gonna say if choice let's just make it build this one, and later on we can add more if you wish to. So sorry guys. So we're gonna say if choice equal to 1, then just we're gonna do build, what did we call it? Build function. And if we click now, we're gonna have the out and then dot build, which will build for us the out. Now at the end, we're gonna go to add the last part, which is gonna be the exiting, the close. But before we're gonna add the security await for security phase, and then at the end we're gonna say inform that we have finished, and we're gonna state cancel log done, for example, and then you can add more as you wish, but for the sake of this tutorial we're trying to make things as more simple and fast. And then we call the show menu that we have created. So if you look, we have toggle everything is connected. So yes, nothing declare and unused. All the function have been called. So we're just gonna call the show. So to test our builder, we just gonna run. We need to save, and then let's test it. Let's do new code.js. And as you see, we got our emulator and we got our input waiting here for us. Once we're gonna press the number 1, enter. So new 85 EFS validate. So let me just, oh yeah, this is why, because it's imported a reserve which should not be, and used it. But usually should be working. Make sure that you don't import nothing except those 3 over here. Otherwise, you may get the error the same way. Let me see. I may have the query. So let me see where we have. I have actually put it. Let me see our CMD event because I may have actually. So it is CMD should have processed automatically. Node FS. Okay, so oh yeah, I know now. So it is because I made it choose it the wrong make there. Should be MK async there. Now it should be working fine. As you see, it already dropped into the build, but that was one thing here. Error command to go, yeah. So we missed to put the build, not BLD. So just a typo, but it is working. Now, so if you put everything as I put it right now, exactly like this, it should be running fine. We may just gonna give it a few minutes. Usually we should have run it into a PowerShell command, not a CMD. Sorry for that. Forgot to tell you that. So it is actually done. My apologies. You can run it into a CMD too, and also PowerShell eventually. Now we got our, let's run it, and here is our server. Now let's build our manager over here. So if you want to build that, now if you customize this still here, now the work is easy for you because you need just to build a single item, and then what you're gonna do is just duplicate back this command over here, and then you can start adding, for example, let's say manager. And this is how I built it the first time. I started just by a single item to make sure it's working, and then it's running and the commands all perfectly. And then after that, I went and start adding because after that it's easy to add. So, and then what you're gonna start doing, for example, if you have finished your app in the out and you have your DB, for example, Firestore, you're just gonna add in here, for example, Firestore, and it should pick the main inside Firestore. Since now in this Scratch project we finished just the main, so we just wanted to test this main over here, how it would be running as an executable. So what we're gonna do is just delete this and give it the direction of our main that we want to build as a manager. And in here we just gonna call it manager. And then inside our options where we said option 1 build emulator, we just gonna put build manager GUI, which is our UI manager. And then we give it a number of 2, saying we want to build number 2 as an input 2. In here we just gonna add the choice if 2, and then we just gonna call manager. If you see it's already popping here for us as security, then once we have done, we should have our manager inside our build as manager executable. So let's test it. We're just gonna run this time. After saving, it should give us option 2, which is what we just added. Then if we press option 2, now it's gonna execute and build for us the out manager. Basically, the builder is just running the command. So if it give you an error as this, it's mean that we have missed a point. Point would be either the name of the folder is not matching, or either it's not finding the manager object. So let me see. So the best option would be to run it into, as I said, into a PowerShell, and then just do new build.js, and then run it into number 2. Oh yeah, I forgot. The manager may not build for us correctly because the manager require a window and require a few things added to the command. So we just gonna so let me think what is the best way to do it. So I think the best approach, because here they're gonna have other which they're gonna be running through the CMD, which they don't have visual context. They will have this single command. So the better option is just to modify from here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add this small line like this exactly. We're just gonna do a dash LD flag, then we're gonna add a string dash, then capital H equal Windows, and then add next to it GUI. Now if you add this correctly, and also make sure that, let me see, are we enabling on 1 or 2? So yeah, we may gonna also need to do, where's the command? Events. Yeah, it is already enabled on 1. Perfect. So if you added flags and Windows GUI, and now if you press and you press 2, oh sorry, we didn't save, that's why we get in the error. So let's save first, and then 2. As you see, let me see what it says. Unrecognized file extension go.build. So let me just double check. It is LD flags minus HW machine. And then dash on, then build, then manager, then dot executable. Not that. Okay. So let's open this. Let's copy the path. Let's open PowerShell in here. Then click Shift, Control, plus, run as administrator, close this one, CD to the path, and then unrecognized file extension, real time GUC. Where did we go? It is weird actually, because if I run the command, I may build it right now next to you again. If you remember, we just built the extension using one of the commands here. So okay, so let us use it as this. This may work actually. So okay, wait a second. What if I did this one like this? Now do you see the command is working here? So what I'm gonna do is I guess just gonna copy this like this, which is the same thing actually than the other one. I don't know why sometimes here things don't follow. And here we're just gonna keep it empty actually. And let me try to rerun this again. And instead here we're just gonna close this. Instead here we're gonna say same way as in here. No, let's try again. Channel. Okay. Okay, I think the problem is actually in here. Should be a dot. Sorry, my apologies. So it should be a dot in here. And then we should have a build over here. And the command should be working. Hopefully. No, it's not. did I? Okay. Bring it down correctly. So would we go build dash in the cloud, then should be minus h equal windows GUI, then should be build folder first, build down, and then slash manager dot exe, and then dot slash manager, then dot manager, and slash main dot fill. So still no. Sorry, I may have missed one more thing. This is should be closed there, and also a dash. Oh, let's try now. Perhaps no one. Now again. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. I think I know one. Let me just build the folder without the main.js, and since it's a folder, it didn't work. Let me do an upgrade first. Still not building. Oh, I see now. And this is why actually it's not building, because it should be target as that. Now, if we as this. Should be target Windows N. Okay, I see that I put it here AFS, it should be AFD. Okay, yeah, we fixed it, the command. So make sure it is exactly as that, otherwise it would never build the extension correctly. Now we got it in here. Now we can open in here and click as we should get our table. Now make sure that it is go builder afld minus h, then go. And because this command use a different package to display the visual context, therefore you're going to be having to add in those exactly as this. And also make sure that you have targeted exactly as in here and enable at 1. Because if it's not enabled at 1, it's not going to be built. So now you have your CLI. As you can see, you can add more to it as much as you want. It's just using logs actually to display the questions, picking the choice, and then putting it back. Make sure that you have the ask question function, which return the promise and the reserve. So it keep continuing on to give options from 1 to 2. You can create the sub options actually by adding, for example, this is option 1. Let's, for example, add the sub option to number 1. So if you want to add a sub option, what you're going to have to do is you're going to create first option 1. For example, let's say this is our option 1. We're going to open option 1 and we're going to add more to it like this. Then you're going to say if, because they need to be all async, so you don't have options on top of each other. If else, sorry, else if, And now inside here, we're just gonna add logs inside here and add options. Again, we're gonna call again our ask question, but this time sub choice, or you can call it, declare it whatever you want. Of course, we're just gonna call it sub choice. And inside our sub choice, we're gonna open again if sub choice, and again equal to 1, for example. Then we're gonna get our create out over here. Now we're gonna add another build. Here we're gonna add, for example, let's say over here options, build options, which is one. One would be build emulator, second one would be build manager as a sub choice again. Then what we're gonna do is wrap this one inside, and then we're gonna take again build manager and put it else again. And then we're gonna call sub choice equal like your nest, all the options that you want. And then we're gonna remove a few things like select the option. We can add here another log lines like this. So we're gonna say option instead of CLI new JS. We're gonna say let me just delete this one from here. And now let's go inside and try the CLI. So if we select this time one, as you can see, build option, which we just created right now. So let's delete our two extensions and build from here from the sub options. As you can see, it built it for us the first out. Now let's do the same thing and build the second sub option. Going on, you can add more as you want. Just make sure to ask questions so it can pick for you the output of the input. That's why we have declared them over here in the top in the beginning, so we can get the output of whatever is entered into the input, and then based on that output, then we can execute the command that we need. So let's run our new builds again to test. So I'm gonna close all the folders. So I'm gonna open that exact folder where they are built exactly. And then We test them straightforward, as you can see. It is running, and it is running. We missed it 2 dots here, otherwise it would not actually send you to the correct location. So in order to fix that, you're just gonna go to your out, inside your out, no, not in here, but actually it's inside your out, CMD, out, and out main. At the end bottom, you're gonna see logs that we were having. In here at the end, you're just gonna add 2 dots. So now if we close, and if we do, we're gonna have to rebuild, because each time that you modify, that's why we created the builder, so we don't have to run again to the commands to build again from scratch. So we built this builder of JS, so it can facilitate for you building process without you requiring to write those commands back every time. So you just define them over here, and then you build with them without you having to make your life easy, a shortcut, as we can say, a shortcut, so you don't have to memorize a lot of commands. I know it is sometimes heavy to remember, because as anyone using, depends what you are using as a terminal. You can be using a bash, a get, you can be using a zig, you can use a lot of terminals. So depends on your terminal and your need. You're gonna need a way to memorize each one, how to use. Sometimes they're confusing from sudo, cmd, they are als, es. For example, I do have bash too, and I do use it sometimes. I do have Git, I also, which is the bash itself. In my other computer, I do have Linux. So it depends on the person what you are using. For example, and the bash, which is nice, you can still use. You see, you can still use the dir function, but there is also as, which is also the same, which actually more better, because you can actually click and it direct you, not like. Also in here, it does direct. Yeah, it does. So you can use a lot sudo, user login, depends what kind of commands you are like used to use on your daily basis. And in here, ls would not work. Actually, I do have access to bash within this computer, sorry. But on a cmd, let's see, on a cmd, would it work? There's a cmd, yes. It actually worked. There. So I think I have, yeah, I do have access in this station to sudo. Anyway, we're gonna get back to that later on. And then I'll show default terminal. I have Microsoft terminal. So we may get back in here later on and set it up. I'm still curious how is that actually. Let me try this station. Maybe I don't have S. Actually, it worked. Yes, it worked. I think it's because AS is Linux, and basically even Microsoft still run on a Linux system. So AS, it's still working in a CMD level. Perhaps in PowerShell, may not. Let's check in PowerShell. Yeah, so this is a PowerShell. So yeah, as you can see in PowerShell, it's not the same return as it's returning just the DR, which is actually typically the same. It must be because I remember even the CMD doesn't actually pull the LS unless you have like installed Linux. Well, it is weird. Even if we dive into help to look at the command, I don't think we do have help for ls. So okay, let's do. Oh no, this is also a PowerShell. Sorry. So let us double check if we do have, or maybe they added in this recent version. But as you can see, it's just they are, but it never mentioned AS, LS. I don't see any ls within the command package down here actually. I see just dir, which is actually there. Adele, date, copy, find, type, go to, move, path, but rd, remove directory. Anyway, so let's rebuild actually. Instead, I'm gonna delete the whole folder, so the CLI will have to create a new folder for me because we have passed it a check where it actually checked for us. Let's check if it's gonna check and execute the folder as we are expecting. So I'm just gonna remove few terminals and I'm gonna keep just this one. I'm gonna do option 1, then option 1 again. So it builded the builder, which is nice. And it added the first function. So as you see, it's fast. It's not actually slow, but it depends how many folders you have within your project as the build would be going. If you have a nested project really deep, they take a while actually for it to build. Now, what is the next stage in our project is because we still have a lot of things if you want to build a project like this. So we're still gonna work too much stuff. So what? Let me just look. Where is the folder of Firebase? I may have a copy. No. I named the folder as Firebase as the start of the project because I was looking at how to understand how is the Firebase is running. I end up creating the emulators and everything at the end. Let me see if I do have a copy. I don't, I just gonna add now a copy. So, so the whole project is actually big, just to let you understand the size of it. So So this is our package Node.js, which actually would be toggled as a Node.js. So let's have a quick look at this package. Once you have built your server, you will need actually to use it in React. You will need to build a bridge between because Go. So the bridge we're using as a bridge as communication HTTP as a bridge between the two to communicate. So one create elements and the other return them. So they're both connected. So this is our package. It takes a while to create this one. Usually this is like when you are adding Firebase admin, it should be as that. So I think that I have may open the dust folder. Yeah, I should open this folder. Let me delete the dust folder and let me rebuild it again. So now it's rebuild it again. So the logic, as I said to you, you will not actually have to write this dust folder as you are seeing. I just explained to you sometimes we create stuff so they can actually do stuff for us and make our life easy. So like as creating a file builder config, which actually allow you to build those folder into the dust. And the file would be as this, but you're gonna have first before that because this is TypeScript TS. It's really complex. It's not something really easy that you're gonna go through. It's like at first thing you're gonna need to understand configuration because without configuration you will never actually run TSX exactly. The folder may give you errors and you're gonna have a lot of hard time actually defining what is the error is if you don't know how to configure your file. One wrong configuration may give you a lot of errors during the project and even may not give you a success build as you can see right here. Then you're gonna have to define your config ts, what you are building inside. You're gonna say define config. Okay, entry would be index, which is our folder over here, which is our file inside here, index. So if you can see scar index ts, so this is our entry. Inside entry, we are importing all of those folders inside here. Inside of them, there's only one file, not too many files as you can see. And then we use our builder so it can generate for us all those files which would be supported by many machines, phone device, and also mobile device and other. It's like compiling for multiple types. So that the package can be used and by your mobile, like in your mobile project or in your React Native projects without issues. Then you're gonna need to set up your package JSON. So let's first explain this type by type so you can understand things clear. So first, you define your entries for each one. So you're gonna say app.index would be scar dot, which is gonna give us into the dust app inside of it index, which is referring to scar index tsx, which is inside our folder tsx. Then define each index, and then we're gonna define the format of the build that we're gonna be building those folder on. If you see over here chgs, which is this type over here, and emc, which is gonna give you dst files. So then you're gonna put dst true, which is dust, which is the file, sorry, dst. Then splitting false, clean true, manufact true, magnify true, and then you're gonna do out extension format. You're gonna pass the format that we have mentioned, format, and then js format equal js aus dot js dot, depending on what is the condition. So if the format is equal to this, then we want this. If it's not equal to this, then we want this format. So first format would be this one, and then the second one, which is non-equal to this, so it's gonna give us a js. And that's why if you see over here, we get some of them js and some of them tsxt. So, and then after having those formats, we're gonna have to, after setting this folder, it's just not by setting the folder. You can run the folder separately, but to have it within your build. So for example, I can run the folder as this. Say for example, this is our folder. I can say, for example, so the command would be, for example, if you check over here, we have build, would be, as you can see, ts. So we have removed this one and we have removed that. So if we do, so we rendered the command without actually going to the file. Now here's the command is done, it's building for us. So we just added it inside the build so it make it easy. For example, if I want to clean, instead of me writing rmf.dust, that's mean remove the dust, I can do, I may just do yarn clean, and it should automatically remove for me the dust, which is just running the command as this rmf remove the second thing. Now, so this is part of creating packages, but actually you can call them, they are the same packages as you are seeing into, for example, in the GitHub repositories, and they are actually shared into the npm store or yarn store or any package else. And then once you're going to be using it locally, I have showed you in the previous videos, and also I think they were vocal over there, you have heard me out when I said it. Also, there is a lot of other compilers that you can use for your web, changing forms of your app and making apps. Anyway, now we may dive in building the packages, but I also have a second project I'm working on, which actually it's more important than the streaming. Anyway, guys, I hope that you have learned something useful and I have helped you a bit to understand a few things. Otherwise, if you still have conflict, please let me know. Or let me. So, with all this, you have already understand how the builder is working, how is it built. You have already understand how to use Go language and build your own executables in all files. You have understand how to create a server, a database where it's storing file for you locally. Define and type and how to use Go language. You have learned how to create functions and sub-functions, and also how to create extensions. If you wanna actually, you can learn Java and then come back to Go because Java and Go are a similar thing. Only the difference that you don't use the jaws much. But as you can see, when you are adding stuff or you creating panels, you are like using the same Java style as adding to container. Instead of add all children in here or set all children, you are like new bar inside, and then inside of each one you add and set context. It's like setting stage. If you have used Java effects, similar. Just removing a lot of stuff. That's it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed and have a nice day.